What's up, y'all? It's Calvin here, and I want to holler at you guys about the focus campaign that is being put on our children when it comes to getting this vaccine. Recently in Milwaukee public school system, they are incentivizing children with $100 to get vaccinated. All right, and I came across this one particular article named "The Battle Against Teens Getting COVID Vaccines is Ramping Up. Now they're fighting back." And we're gonna go through this article right here. And starting off, it says in Rhode Island, South Carolina, Oregon, Bama, and the District of Columbia, minor consent for vaccination depends on their age, ranging from 16 years old to 11 years old. All right, and that is according to KFF. And it says there are more states, including Arizona, Idaho, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Washington, that have mature minor doctrines. And peep that wording right there, mature minor doctrines. And we're going to take a look at one of these doctrines in just a moment, and you will see that it is a little bit deeper than just them having a permission to get a shot. All right. And once again, though, another thing that I wanted to point out about that mature minor doctrine is that this is also getting people, ready for it. Is going to come to a point with this whole consent thing to where kids, if they're not happy at home, they can go to the government and they're going to be able to get benefits in order to live by themselves, or stuff like that. It sounds crazy now, but I'm telling you, that's how these things start, with this mature minor doctrines. All right, where it's a kind of law that allows minors to demonstrate that they are informed enough to make healthcare decisions independent of their parents. And I'm willing to bet that the demonstration that these kids have to show is not going to be with their parents present. It's just going to be somebody making a decision, you know what I'm saying, with your child. Like, that's the way it is going to go down, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it if some of these people have their way. All right, so anyways, it goes on to say, even as a minor, you are your own person. You are entitled to agency in your own body. And this is said by DC Ward 3 Council Member Mary Chi. All right, and I will put a picture up there for you guys to see. And she happened to have 2 kids. All right, a woman is talking like this, but her kids are grown. You know what I'm saying? So she could really care less about yours that have to grow up with this type of education, and this influence to just basically go against your parents. All right, and that's what they're giving these kids the power to do, as you are going to see. All right, and this is going to be a prime example. If you check out this particular 9th grader that we're going to read about, his name is Aaron Parsa, and if you click the link, you are going to see a video pop up, and you're also going to see Dr. Fauci's name up there that's backing this kid. And I told you, you know what I'm saying, every time that they put these kids out here, understand that they got adults behind them. All right, it's always adults around these kids that they are pushing these agendas with. All right, so anyways, let's see what Aaron Parsa has. All right. And it says, the fact that teens have not at all been involved with the discussion, it has been most shocking. All right. And once again, this 13-year-old is talking, like saying, how dare these adults make these decisions without us? You know what I mean? Like he paying bills or something. So anyways, it goes on to say, Parsa, a 9th grader in San Jose, California, started his organization to support the creation of minor consent laws, which you're going to hear a whole lot of that about minors being mature and these consent laws and stuff like that. Report vaccine-related misinformation, you're going to hear that again as well, that appears on social media, and help teens talk to their parents or guardians about wanting to get vaccinated. Right, and then it says teens with anti-vax parents or guardians are living in sheer fear, sadness, and frustration, Parsa says. And this is something else that these people, they always trying to kick fear. You know what I'm saying? And as far as frustration goes, that's just a part of life. Sometimes things will frustrate you, but that doesn't, you know what I mean? That doesn't mean that you're going to give kids, you know what I'm saying, complete consent, to just do whatever they want to and make these types of decisions for themselves. But That's what Dr. Fauci and, you know what I'm saying, that's why they get behind these kids, you know what I'm saying, to try to put their stamp on it and really, really push this message, because they want to use kids to get to your child. You know what I'm saying? And like, that's the way it works. And I told you guys in previous podcasts many times that they want to get in that house. And doing things like this, getting these smart mouth little teenagers that's talking the way that they doing, like your Greta Thunberg, which I mentioned that during a podcast, with the way that she was talking to adults, that's going to put the spirit of rebellion out there. And we have seen this movement that is shaping up right in front of our faces, and now they are, you know, getting ready to take aim at real laws, you know what I'm saying, that give kids a whole lot of power. And you're about to see just how much power that some of these lawmakers are trying to give these kids. All right, so, and then Parser goes on to say the issue goes far beyond public health, parental assurance. All right, and I was telling you guys that they're trying to give these kids just complete consent, like to be able to make moves the same way that adults do. All right, this is not just about a vaccine. All right, and he goes on to say the mental health of teens suffering in silence matters. They deserve to be heard before laws are passed that affect them. This decision by North Carolina Senate that requires This decision by North Carolina Senate to require parental consent can set a dangerous precedent and is most certainly regressive, meaning that this is backwards. You know what I'm saying? That the adults are, you know what I'm saying, putting things in place where adults are calling the shots, and instead of letting kids do whatever they want to. All right, and that is backwards to a 13-year-old boy. Okay, and this is who Dr. Fauci is getting behind. Okay. All right, scrolling on down, we'll start with this paragraph right here. And this is being spoken by a lady named Lisa Piercy, all right, who has recently paused a vaccine campaign that was aimed at teenagers, all right? And it says the reason that we paused is because we wanted to leave no room for interpretation. The Tennessee Health Commissioner Lisa Piercy said in a July press conference, there was a perception that we were marketing to children, and that totally was against our view about the importance of parental authority. We strongly believe that parents are the best decision makers when it comes to medical decisions for their children, and I agree. But you're going to see that this same person is going to kind of backtrack on the same things that she's saying. But at any rate, moving on, and it says the move was a response to Republican lawmakers who criticized the agency for doing vaccine outreach to teens in schools and on social media. All right, and basically trying to get at these kids without their parents. Okay. And then we have a teacher, and this is very telling, and you parents out there, you need to pay attention to this, of how these teachers that they have around your kids, how these people think. And this is an example right here. All right, and this guy's name is John DeVore, and he's a teacher and a parent of two children from Hickson, Tennessee. All right, and he told BuzzFeed News that the pause in outreach could mean already hesitant parents missed vital vaccine information. Now, how could they miss it? Everywhere in the world, everybody's pumping it, you know what I'm saying? But check it out, though. Because they weren't getting consistent messaging, meaning that repetitive lie that they just have to keep repeating, you know what I'm saying? Have to keep repeating it, giving it to you over and over again. And that's called cognitive dissonance. You know what I'm saying? When you keep hearing the same thing over and over again, people tend to start to believe it. And that's what a lot of this is going on. And all this dude is doing is letting people know that he's just going to ram this down your kid's throat over and over again. And that's just going to be what that is. Then it goes on to say, but as a teacher, he loves to see student advocacy. I bet he does. And he says, we have adults that can't seem to get beyond some sort of political narrative that they've been fed. All right, now that is a hell of a thing to say for a guy who is parroting a lot of politicians who are in favor of the vaccine. All right, and so that could be the narrative that he's being fed. And You know, Joe Biden happens to be one of those politicians, the president, you know what I mean, that's running around here just like the Yin Yang twins talking about go get vaccinated. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's up? But let this teacher tell it. People who are against what he believes, they're just feeding you a narrative that's been fed to them by a politician. And this is the mind state, the spirit, you know what I'm saying, rather, that is around and in the mix amongst children all across this country. Scrolling on down and moving right along, we have a paragraph here. It says, Piercy said Tennessee will continue administering COVID-19 vaccines under its doctrine that states minors ages 14 and older don't need parental consent. All right. And I told you guys that even though they stopped this campaign targeting teens, then she turns around and now she's still going to uphold it. But it's only in fringe and nuanced cases, all right? Whatever that means. And it just seems like it's just vague to leave the door wide open for them, some adults, to determine what these kids can and can't do, all right? But let's take a look at this doctrine right quick. And this was submitted by a woman named Dr. Michelle Fiscus, okay? And we're just going to look at it right quick, and we're going to cover a few things. But it says, between the ages of 14 and 18, there is a rebuttable presumption of capacity, and the physician may treat without parental consent, okay? And then it comes down here with the next one, and it says, certain statutes also explicitly permit the treatment of minors for specific conditions without parental consent, including the treatment of juvenile drug abusers, emergency situations, treatment of STDs. So your kid can be out here screwing and having all kinds of sex as a minor, and they can go and be able to get treatment and all that stuff like that, and nobody's going to tell you. You know what I'm saying? Just think of how empowering that is to a child to be able to just do whatever they want to and then just run to the state instead of coming to you. All right? And moving on, it says providing contraception, again with the sex, and providing prenatal care, the result of having sex. All right? And when it comes down to the case of abortion, however, the legislature has made clear that no minor may obtain an abortion without either parent consent or a court order in exceptional circumstances. So in the end, they still got a way around the parents. All right? So, and this is what Dr. Michelle Fiscus wrote. Okay, so coming back to the same paragraph grouping right here, and it says, the resumption of outreach came on the heels of health department firing its top official, Dr. Michelle Fiscus, which is a very good idea to get somebody out there that was pushing it like her, but they didn't get rid of her doctrine, which is crazy. Like, why would you get rid of her but still keep her doctrine? It's very strange. Okay, but anyways, after she shared accurate information with medical providers about the doctrine. All right, and then she is quoted saying that this generation is very savvy. They know how to find information and are often skilled at discerning the quality of information that they find. And if you've got some little teenage boy or girl that's hot in the behind, that's trying to be out here humping around and doing all that stuff like that, and you're opening up the door wide where they can pretty much do it all and not have to tell their parents, of course, they're going to flock to that. All right, I'm moving on with this article. I'm actually going to scroll back up because I wanted to save this part for last. But there's a 18-year-old girl named Kelly Danielport, and she's the founder of a website called VaxTeen. And she goes on to say, as teens face increasing obstacles, particularly around the need for parental consent, I've seen them increasingly take matters into their own hands and actively work to get vaccinated. Long story short, they're disobeying their parents, and this behavior is being encouraged, all right? And she's got a website that is doing exactly just that, to take the place of the parent when it comes to counseling their children on, you know, healthcare and these types of things. So we're going to go to her website and see what this misinformation is that she is fighting against, because she goes on to say that her website counters vaccine misinfo. Okay, and if you look here on her website, they've got a section that says common vaccine myths. dispelling and debunking misinformation. He comes to the first myth. It says vaccines cause autism. All right, and if you look here within the paragraph, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it says that there was a study that was published in 1997 by a guy named Andrew Wakefield. Remember that name, okay? Because that's the same guy that wrote on the movie called Vax, okay? But he is going to come up a little bit later, okay? And also, if you see this hypertext here, we're going to visit this in a moment, all right? But first, we're going to move down and see a little bit more of these myths. And we have myth 2 right here. It says natural immunity is better than vaccine-acquired immunity. Marvin Gaye told us ain't nothing like the real thing. So I don't know what this 18-year-old girl is talking about, but can't no man do what God been doing, all right, better than God. That is not happening. So anyway, moving down here to myth 3, because it's mainly myth 1 and 3. Those are the ones that I'm really going to touch on. The rest of them, you really don't need any sources or anything like that. You can just use your head and you can break through these myths right here because they are so weak. But people might have some problems with number 1 and number 3. And number 3 is vaccines contain unsafe toxins, and they're saying that this is a myth, as well as they do not cause autism, all right? And we're going to see using their links, all right? And if you look at myth 3, it'll actually give you some of the toxins that they're talking about. Like, for instance, they bring up formaldehyde, and they say that it is produced at higher rates by our own metabolic systems, and there's no scientific evidence that the low levels of this chemical, mercury or aluminum, in vaccines can be harmful. All right. Now, when it comes to formaldehyde, all right, if we've already got it at higher rates inside of our body, why do we need it from a vaccine? Like, you know what I'm saying? Why do we need it from an outside source? So stop it. And then when it comes to aluminum, osteoporosis and different kind of bone diseases, as well as a host of different things that are not as harsh as bone disease, bone deterioration, so on and so forth. And also Alzheimer's is something else that aluminum does. So you guys can look that up for yourself. Because of time purposes, I'm just going to mainly really dive deep into mercury, because that kind of tackles both 1 and 3, because they say it doesn't cause autism and these toxins are unsafe. And right off the rip, mercury is a carcinogen, and it is unclear whether aluminum causes breast cancer or not, because a lot of people use it in their deodorant and things of that nature. At any rate, though, we're going to get into it and see what's up with this mercury, all right? And most of the forms that is given through vaccines is through something called thimerosal, which is basically mercury, all right? And it says, anyway, it says right here that mercury is a naturally occurring element found within the Earth's crust, air, soil, and water, all right? And there's 2 types of mercury which people may be exposed: methyl mercury and ethyl mercury, all right? And this is also denoted as ET, capital H, lowercase g, and then MT, capital H, lowercase g, all right? And that is just the way that scientists write that stuff down. The HG is the chemical symbol on the periodic table for mercury. Anyway, coming down here, it says thimerosal contains ethyl mercury, which is cleared from the human body more quickly than methyl mercury, and is therefore less likely to cause any harm. So it's not saying that it doesn't cause any harm, it's less likely to, all right? So moving on, we're going to go to the CDC, all right? And this is blood mercury levels in young children and childbearing age women in the United States, 1999 to 2002, all right? And this is what the CDC had to say about mercury. And we're just going to touch on a few things here. And it says exposure to high levels of mercury, which Hg, can cause neurological and kidney disorders, all right? And if you move down, it says exposure of childbearing age women is particularly concerned because of the potential adverse neurological effects of HG in fetuses. All right, and neurological messes with your mind, messes with your nervous system. Okay, and when it comes to your mind, that is autism all day long. Okay, and if we move down in this same paragraph, there's another warning for women. Okay, and it says women who are pregnant or intend to become pregnant should follow federal and state advisories on consumption of fish that may contain the HG, because that is mentioned within this whole paragraph here. But anyways, moving along, I just wanted to bring this out just to give you both sides of it, not just ethyl mercury, but methyl mercury too, because it's gonna make a difference. All right, and just moving along, it says ethyl mercury, which is ET capital HG, is derived from the metabolism of thimerosal, which is the most widely used form of organic mercury. All right, and it's moving down here, and it says the World Health Organization considers small doses of thimerosal safe regardless of multiple/repetitive exposures to vaccines that are predominantly taken, guess when, during pregnancy and infancy, the exact times that the CDC warns against introducing this into the body during that period of time. Okay, and then it moves on down here, and it says, therefore, in real life scenarios, a simultaneous exposure to both ethyl mercury and methyl mercury might result in enhanced neurotoxic effects in developing mammals, and a fetus or a human baby that would be considered a developing mammal as well as an infant and a young child. Okay, and then it goes on to say, however, our knowledge on this subject is still incomplete, meaning that they don't know, and studies are required to address the predictability of the addictive or synergic toxicological effects of ethyl mercury and methyl mercury or other neurotoxicants. All right, so it has it right there that they have no idea. All right, and what they do know suggests that both of them put together could result in enhanced neurotoxic effects. Okay, and this is very key because they like to describe both of these as being different. All right, and that is very, very key. Okay, ethyl mercury and methyl mercury. And we're going to even go to the link that is left on the vaccine site and go to that exact one. Okay, if you go to myth 1 on the vaccine site, all right, and click and even more recent research, you are going to get the CDC. Okay, and the first thing that pops up once you scroll down, you can see the title there, and it says vaccines do not cause autism. All right, and then it's got sources down there, and once you click this source, you know, it is gonna pop up to show you a book that costs $90. But look to the side, they've got a free PDF. Okay, so you click that, or excuse me, they've got a free PDF, and they also have read online. All right, and these things can be done for free. Okay, so you click on that and go through the table of contents, and you can scroll down here to go to with 4.5. It says studies include the weight of epidemiologic evidence for MMR vaccine and autism. Okay, and if you click there, look what it says, and remember that this is linked to a website that is supposed to be able to combat misinformation. All right, check this out. It says, although the committee is optimistic that more can and will be known about vaccine safety in the future, the limitations of the currently available peer-reviewed data meant that more often than not, we did not have sufficient scientific information to conclude whether a particular vaccine caused a specific rare adverse event. Where the data were inadequate to reach a scientifically defensible conclusion about causation, meaning that they couldn't come to a conclusion to find out what was causing these adverse effects. It goes on to say the committee specifically chose not to say which way the evidence leaned. Hold up, wait. So you're telling me that they know and that they have some evidence, but they chose not to say which way that it leaned, whether it was hurting people or it was safe. You know what I mean? But they chose to keep that, you know what I'm saying, silent. And anyways, their reasoning is that such indications would violate our analytic framework, meaning that it would tear down the lie that they're trying to uphold and push on a site that is geared toward getting teens to take a shot, all right? And it goes on to say some readers doubtless will be disappointed by this level of rigor. No joke. So the same link that this girl who is being pushed by all of these news outlets that is pushing her stuff, you know what I'm saying? Once you actually look at the research that they have set forth, okay, and is being used as references by the CDC, once you get to the bottom of all of that, they don't know. And what they do know, they are not going to tell you. And they're going to put it out as gospel that vaccines are okay to your children. So just think about that. And there's something else that is very disturbing about this whole situation when it comes to the links that were left by the CDC. If you look right here at your screen, all right, now, if you were to scroll up and down, like it goes past 4.5 and there are things that come before that, and they're all links, and it doesn't matter which one that you click on, they all come back to this same paragraph. Everything in this whole link that you click on, everything comes back to this same one. I will, as always, leave the links below, but see for yourself, all right? And again, this is on a site that is targeting your kids. I mean, this is crazy. But you're about to get your socks all the way blown off, man. And just to show you the audacity and the pure wickedness and evil that these people have inside of their heart, in just a moment. All right, y'all. We're about to drop the bomb on them right here, and just real quick, I just want to highlight the fact that the website that this article on is called pubmed.gov, and this is a source that is used by the CDC, and you can find it very easily by clicking the vaccine link that's on there. They have used articles to try to prove their case, I guess, to I don't know, make it look official or like whatever, because once you start reading, you guys are starting to see the way this thing is shaping up. But at any rate, just wanted to highlight it that I am reading from the same sources that they themselves use, all right? So can't nobody come along and say that this is conspiracy theorists and all this stuff like that. No. This is head up what it is, all right? And like you are in store for something crazy and diabolical, all right? But this particular article is called "Examining the Evidence That Ethyl Mercury Crosses the Blood-Brain Barrier," all right? And that is designated by BBB, which you'll see during the article, okay? And it says, scientific research can provide us with factual, repeatable, measurable, and determinable results. As such, scientific research can provide information that can be used in decision-making process, in the care of patients, and in public policy. Although it has been suggested that ethyl mercury containing compounds do not cross the blood-brain barrier, this review examines the literature that addresses the question as to whether ethyl mercury containing compounds cross the blood-brain barrier. The review will begin with cellular studies that provide evidence for the passive and active transport of mercury species across the blood-brain barrier. Then animal and clinical studies will be presented that specifically examine where the mercury accumulates in the brain after exposure to ethyl mercury containing compounds or thimerosal, an ethyl mercury containing compound used as a preservative in vaccines and other drugs that metabolizes or degrades to ethyl mercury containing compounds and thiosalicylate. The results indicate that ethyl mercury containing compounds are actively transported across membranes by the L-leucine preferring amino acid transport, the LAT system, the same as methyl mercury containing compounds. This is why I wanted to cover methyl mercury as well as ethyl mercury, so that you guys could see the similarities between the two. And when the CDC was warning women not to ingest this stuff, and then to see that they were turning around to give these women via vaccine the same thing during the same time period, and it turns out that they do the same thing. You know what I mean? And as crazy and as whirlwind as that is, they, protect you on one hand and, kill you with the same thing that they're claiming to protect you from on the other end. And it's just these people are maniacs. And when some people hear things like this, they try to figure this out and to, really wrap their minds around, why a person would do it. And like, you're going to run into a lot of trouble doing that. You just have to look at the evidence for what it is. Walks like a crackhead, talks like a crackhead, so on and so forth. And these people are maniacs, just absolute, just evil maniacs. Then it goes on to say further, 22 studies from 1971 to 2019, which is 48 years, showed that exposure to ethyl mercury containing compounds intravenously, which is through a needle, intraperitoneally, which is through a needle as well, but it's mainly done in animals. That's an injection usually in a body cavity. And then topically, that's like a cream. Subcutaneously, that's an arm shot. And intramuscularly is what is usually a thigh shot in babies less than 12 months. And then once they hit 12 months, they will get a subcutaneous shot that is in the arm, usually. All right. And then it goes on to say that it is also administered through the nasal passage, which you just breathe in. There's a few vaccines like that, a lot of flu vaccines and stuff like that for kids and stuff like that, to inhale instead of getting a shot. But anyways, moving on, it says results in accumulation of mercury in the brain. So all of those methods that the shot can be administered, they will all result in the accumulation of mercury in the brain. So it don't matter how you do it. You can put the blindfold on and just go for it, and you are going to be affected by this thimerosal, this mercury that they're putting in vaccines. All right. And then it says, in total, these studies indicate that the ethyl mercury containing compounds and thimerosal readily cross the blood-brain barrier, convert for the most part to highly toxic inorganic mercury containing compounds, which significantly and persistently bind to tissues in the brain, even in the absence of concurrent detectable blood mercury levels. So that's some pretty serious business, and it's very damning evidence. So I just wanted to hit the science up, because that seems to be a argument that, people don't know the science, but once you actually look at it, it seems to always be the opposite of what these corporations and government are trying to push for, just like every single time. But you just have to look and see, you know what I'm saying? And so please share this information with people, and let them know that it's trunk tight, it's solid. The CDC uses it, since that seems to be the selling pitch for anything that is, not misinformation. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I made it a point to go to their stuff, because there's a whole bunch of stuff out there. But, it's just I haven't seen no videos out there that's like really using, their own stuff against them. You know what I'm saying? And it is very easy to do. You just got to kind of plod through it. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me for this long. And we're going to move on to some videos and close this thing out. And moving on a little bit further with this whole situation when it comes to autism, there's a couple of videos that you guys can check out. You know what I'm saying? So you have to do all the digging and stuff like that I did, that'll make it real succinct and easy for you. And there'll be 3 videos that I'm going to leave for you guys, and one is of a Congressman, Bill Posey, who received a 10,000 page report from a guy named William Thompson, who's a doctor that worked at the CDC. Okay, and if I'm not mistaken, he might still work there. I know as of 2018, he was still working there. But anyway, William Thompson, he ended up contacting a guy named Dr. Brian Hooker, and he also has children he also has a child who is autistic, all right? And Dr. William Thompson was talking to Dr. Brian Hooker, and Dr. William Thompson was telling them all of this stuff that they were throwing out as far as evidence that showed that, you know, black kids were getting autism because of these vaccines at a higher rate, and so on and so forth, and just telling this guy this stuff. And at the time that he was telling them this, he didn't know that he was being recorded. He was just confessing and confiding to Dr. Brian Hooker, okay? And there's going to be evidence of that given to you by a doctor named Dr. Dale Bigtree, okay? And he kind of goes in depth to all that stuff like that, so I will leave the links below. But the gist of it is basically Dr. William Thompson, he sent the report to the congressman of Florida at the time, the report, and during the research that the congressman did, he found out that the government had paid out $3 billion in vaccine damages just for children alone. This wasn't for adults or anything else. This was just for children alone. And with the report that he had, you know, was even more troubling about these kids getting, you know, autism and things of that nature, which the CDC completely denied, you know what I mean? But once this came out, there was a guy named Andrew Wakefield, which the same website that this chick is running, she's trying to mention his name to discredit. But he came out and started talking to different parents and stuff like that, and he was able to write he was the one that co-wrote the Vax movie, all right? And I will leave a link below of him, and he's sitting next to a mother, all right? And you don't have to believe him, but listen at the mother. She said that she saw the doctor give the shot to her child, and her child started to convulse. And the doctor straight out said that, oh yeah, your child is having an adverse effect to the MMR vaccine. And like her child at the time of the video that I am going to leave a link for was around 20. And he's still autistic, you know what I'm saying? But the doctors were telling her that he's going to be all right. And that never happened. I just wanted to put this information out here because these people are actively lying to your kids in the same exact links that they use, you know what I'm saying, to try to tell you, to be able to convince to you that you can put your trust on these people. We are going to see what the Bible says about putting your trust on this wicked government. All right, and this is going to be a familiar one. Going to 1 John chapter 4, verse 1, and it says, "Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world." Okay, and this is crystal clear, you know what I'm saying, with this video right here of why it is so important. You know what I mean? Because just like the San Francisco choir was singing that they're coming for your children, like they weren't just talking about sexually, it's on every level. Like they are at these kids. And I told you guys that this was going to be an interesting school year, okay? Because they have got a chance, and they know that this is very critical for them in order to inject the poisonous education that they are trying to give these kids, man. Because like these next couple of generations, man, it is going to be very, very pivotal for them to have, man, to just keep this filth perpetuating and blossoming. And I mean, so far they are doing a very good job of it, you know. But moving on, and I wanted to deal with the rebellious spirit that I am seeing that is dwelling up all across the nation with these kids with different movements and stuff like that. And it's just, they don't really realize that they're being taken advantage of, and, you know, being being merged into some very, very bad people's agenda, and it is very, very sad to see. But Rahm Emanuel said it himself. They do not let a good tragedy go to waste, and it doesn't have to be a tragedy. Any opportunity that they get to push their line, they are gonna push it wholeheartedly. And this brings me to Matthew 10 and 21, because they are really attacking the family with this, and this is very important, you know what I'm saying? And this is why with the schools they are getting the LGBT people and things of that nature, and these people have an agenda on destroying the family, as I have spoken of in a previous video. And you're starting to see how this thing works, man. And like, these are military tactics, folks, and they've been doing this all throughout time, you know what I'm saying? And this is why it's so important to read the scriptures, be able to learn their tactics. But they are not joking and not playing around. And hopefully, video by video, this is becoming clear and clear to more and more people. But I'm going to read Matthew 10 and 21. And it says, "And the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child. And the children shall rise up against their parents and cause them to be put to death." And these things are going to be becoming a whole lot more frequent. There's already a father that went to jail because he didn't want his daughter to have a reassignment surgery, and the Canadian government, they locked him up. You know what I'm saying? And you know, there's all kind of stories like this. You saw the one in Chicago where the judge wouldn't let the mother see the child because of the vaccine situation, but that has since been reversed, thank goodness. But it's not gonna stop. It's just that constant wedge that is gonna be trying to be driven between the husband and wife, which has been pretty much successful so far to this point. But they're really trying to get those kids to really just further just completely break that chain. And once that happens, man, it just, like, it is gonna be horrible, just absolutely horrible. But this is Sodom and Gomorrah. This is the part of it that, you know, a lot of people just don't really talk about. It isn't all about just the sexual aspect. It's just the laws that they were putting in place. It was just, everything was backwards. And so I hope that this resonates with you guys. And I apologize if the subject matter is a bit dry, but I need to tackle these types of topics to smash lies, you know what I'm saying? Because it's so easy to just say whatever, but you know what I'm saying, to break through the madness and all the psychology that has been put upon people, it is better to go in depth with these subjects, to really break it down, so that where there's absolutely no argument. And so that is what I am trying to do, you know what I'm saying? And bring a little bit of truth and keep that alive in this wicked world. This the Pyros. Here come the hot stepper. Here come the spiritual warrior. Excuse me, good people, I still love you like that. Hey.